What is sustainable leadership? Well, when we think of sustainable, we think of things that are not going to harm the environment, or things that are not going to outstrip the resources or add things to the landfill. And really, all of those are driving at this definition of sustainability, which is something that is enduring, something that's able to be perpetuated. It's not a dead end. We can just keep doing this. And so when we talk about sustainable leadership, we're talking about a leadership model that allows an organization to have leaders, in some cases, come and go, but the overall leadership capacity of the organization and the culture of leadership there just continues to get better and better and better. And our belief is that the best form of leadership that allows leadership to be sustainable is servant leadership. When we talk about servant leadership, it is not very complicated. That's not to say it's easy. It's incredibly difficult. It's just not complicated. So I'll give you basically three pieces of servant leadership that we find should be in evidence if that's the model that you're going for. Number one is that you put others before yourself. Leaders, servant leaders, are those who put others before themselves. They are constantly on the lookout for what's in the best interest of the other individuals, and they're in the practice of making sacrifice to make that happen. They will give of their time, their effort, their energy, a lot of the other things that we're going to talk about in Module 2. That's what servant leaders live out. The other thing that servant leaders do is they're constantly encouraging, exhorting, and empowering the people around them. So they are encouragers. When people are doing well, they're exhorting, they're calling people up to a higher standard when they fall a little bit short, and they're empowering to allow people to continue to grow and create new opportunities for themselves. And then finally, great servant leaders are consistent. So those three things, putting others before self, encourage, exhort, empower, and be consistent, sounds pretty straightforward, and it is, but it can be incredibly difficult. But what happens when you do that is that not only are you leading well, you are also training other leaders through modeling. And it's a form of leadership that lends itself to role models and lends itself to kind of on-the-job experience, looking at what a great leader does, and I can emulate that. That's not out of reach. Yes, it's difficult, but it doesn't require me to go get an MBA. It doesn't require me to have 25 years of industry experience, and that's the norm. Usually when we look at leaders inside businesses, we look at bringing somebody in who's got this incredible experience set, and there's a big gap between them and the rest of the team that's going to allow them to pull the rest of the team up. But what we find in practice, especially in the businesses that we work with, is that the best leaders are a little bit above the folks that they're leading in terms of their willingness to put others before self, to encourage, exhort, and empower, and to be consistent. It's that small gap of their willingness to do those things that allows them to lead very well, but also allows the people who are being led to see up close and personal. There is not a huge gap here, and they can see what great leadership looks like. So when if this person ever decides to retire or hand the business over to a second generation, or if this is a key player in the organization and they get called away to do other things, there's not a huge gap, and we can call some of these people up who are willing to put others before self to a greater extent, who are willing to work on their encouragement, their exhortation, and their empowerment, and who are willing to be held accountable to a more consistent standard of leadership. They can step right into those shoes. That's why servant leadership is the most sustainable leadership model.